The date is November 6th, 2022. 10,000 people log in to Sword Art Online, a virtual reality MMO game. But before the day is over, two things are revealed to them. First, there is no way to log out of SAO. Second, if they die in the game, they're killed in real life. That is the concept behind the web novel Sword Art Online, written by Reki Kawahara back in the early 2000s. The series has since transitioned to a light novel format and has had both manga and anime adaptations. I really enjoyed the series when I first discovered it, which later involvement in the anime community has led me to discovering that means I'm basic, but whatever. So when we got to November 22, I decided to rewatch the anime, starting each episode on the day it was actually set. And then as we approached the end of SAO, I realised I had thoughts about it, so that's why I'm making this video. Please note, this will not be a rundown of everything that happens in the series. It's available, you can watch it yourself or look up a summary if you want to know the plot. This is to address the pacing of a 14-episode show that fills a 2-year time period, and for that reason I will also not be addressing SAO Progressive, since it fills in all the gaps. The first episode, as you would imagine, shows the first day of SAO. Specifically, it shows it from the perspective of our focal character, Kazuto Kirigaya, who's known as Kirito. The episode ends with everyone being informed of the rules the game works, which naturally causes a mass panic among them all. Cut to black. Episode 2 picks up a month later. Some form of order has been asserted and a group of people get together to clear the first floor. I'd honestly say a month is a good amount of time to have passed for some people to come to terms with their situation, and knowing that they'd be freed if they beat the 100th floor would spur people to action. Anyway, they beat the boss, Kirito's revealed as a base tester, and everyone hates him now. Episode 3! This one was really interesting because it covers the largest skip in the show so far, although it won't hold that title for long. Episode 3 starts on April 8th, 2023, which is a time skip of several months. People have started forming guilds and grouping up to get stronger and survive. Kirito joins one such guild. Unfortunately, they all die and Kirito spends the entire rest of the year feeling guilty about it. The episode ends at Christmas 2023, which is a monumental time skip, but it shows him getting an item to try and revive one of the guild members, only for it to be revealed it has to be used 10 seconds after death, which is presumably the amount of time that passes between your character dying and the players actually being killed. Kirito's sad, we're sad, everything sucks. On to episode 4, which has the largest gap in the series. I said episode 3 started in April 2023, so that was when I watched all of it. I know it ended at Christmas, but I'm not watching 7 minutes of an anime episode, that's absurd. Episode 4 then picks up in February 2024. For those of you who don't know your months of the year, that's a time gap of 10 months, nearly a whole year. I had actually almost forgotten I was doing this, which really put in perspective what being in SAO must have felt like. What aspects of their normal lives did they struggle to remember? After potentially having fought for their lives for over a year, did their actual lives still feel real? Well, they sure don't for some people, because this episode revealed that there are those in SAO who intentionally killed others, which is just straight up murder. Kirito teleports a group of them to a prison and the episode ends. Episode 5 opens in March 2024, with the top players discussing how to defeat the boss of the 56th floor. This does double duty of letting the viewer see how the best players of SAO have banded together in the time they've been trapped, while also giving us an indication of how far they've come in a year and a third, slightly over halfway. While that's a massive increase on the fact that it took them a month to beat the first floor, it still indicates they'd be trapped in SAO for another year at least. The episode then fast forwards to April 11th, and a story that crosses into episode 6, so I'm going to do them both together. The gist of it is that one guy noticed that his wife was changing while they were in SAO, and he didn't want to change, so he decided to kill her. It's actually horrifying, and also raises the question of morality in SAO again. Would he, and many of the others who also became killers, have done the same thing outside of Sword Art Online? Obviously, I can't say for certain, as each person is a product of their environment, but I would reckon that being trapped in SAO probably disconnected a lot of the players from the real-life consequences of their actions, resulting in them acting in a way that they hopefully wouldn't have done in real life. Anyway, next episode. Episode 7 jumps to June and has Kirito getting a second sword, so at this point he's acquired the dual wield skill. I didn't realise that he got the skill so late in SAO, which is where the disconnect between actual time passing versus the fact that this is only episode 7 of the show was very noticeable. The fact that he dual wields is kind of a thing that he's pretty well known for, and we don't even find out why he wanted the sword for another couple of episodes. With that, on to episode 8. This episode jumps to October 17th and starts the events that lead to the end of SAO. Episode has Kirito and Asuna having some relationship development and ends with them finding the boss of the 74th floor. What's crazy is that this episode starts less than a month from the end of SAO, and yet is only slightly over halfway through the series. The effect of skipping most of a year in one episode is starting to show. Episode 9 takes place on the same day and features Kirito finally revealing his dual-wield skill in order to beat the Floor 74 boss. Nothing else interesting happens. Episode 10 happens a few days later and has Kirito fighting one of the members of Asuna's guild before being forced to kill him. This is the only time we see Kirito kill another player in the SAO arc, because he's fully aware of the consequences of murder, and understandably doesn't want to kill people. He only does it to save Asuna, and it ends up weighing on him. Even after all this time, Kirito hasn't forgotten the harsh reality of their situation. Episodes 11, 12, and 13 have Kirito and Asuna leave the front lines and show the viewer how other people have been living in SAO. I presume Reki got near the end of the series and realised he hadn't addressed what non-combatants had been doing for 2 years, so threw it all in at once. We get a police force, taxes, fishermen, orphanages, all the trappings of a life that people anticipate living for a while. It ends with Kirito and Asuna deciding that no, they can't live here forever, and they return to the front lines to fight the Floor 75 boss. Which is episode 14, the final episode of the SAO arc. There's not really much to say about this episode specifically, since it follows on from the previous one immediately and ends the arc. Almost 2 years ago, I started this rewatch, and following the story as it plays out really puts into a perspective a 14-episode show, even with the amount of time that it covers. Now, how long until Fairy Dance begins?